Ruth Hammond is a specialist in infant toddler development and caregiving and the author of Respecting Babies, a new look at Magda Gerber's Rye approach, newly released by 0 to 3. Mentored by Resources for Infant Educators founder Magda Gerber, who was a former teacher at Pacific Oaks College for 20 years. Ruth Ann is a mentor and president of the board of directors of Rye. She is, over the past 15 years, has been a master teacher at Pacific Oaks College and Children's School Infant Toddler Parent Program in Pasadena. She is also a senior adjunct faculty member in the Human Development Department at Pacific Oaks. She currently studies effective neuroscience with Dr. Alan Shore, who you all know, of the UCLA David Geffen School of Medicine. So, may I introduce you to Ruth Ann.
Really amazing group of people who do so much on behalf of families. So, oh dear, how did I get there? Okay. This isn't working for me. Wait a second. Yeah, this is just exactly the kind of audience that we have really, been kind of working up to, I think, at Rye. I've been a part of Rye for 20-something years because I have a 24-year-old son, and I found out about Rye in my childbirth class. Somebody came and talked about it. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's not good. We got to go into a view mode or presenter tools. There we go. That's nicer. I'm just learning. Oh, turn off your cell phones. It's probably my husband. He's always the one that calls me in the middle of. No. Oh. Okay, I'm going to turn it off. I'm sorry. There we go. Where was I? So we are carrying on in the aftermath of the loss of our founder, Magda Gerber, who died in 2007. She was trained in Budapest by Dr. Emmy Pickler, who was a pediatrician who was very well known for some sort of radical ideas, and was invited to start an orphanage after World War II, and had studied hospitalism and knew, the downside of institutionalizing young children. And she said, no, I know how to preserve a child's ego and capacity to bond with people in a group setting, and she set about to do that. And in the course of doing that, she also did very deep, detailed research of children's natural movement development. And I think she's probably the only person who has ever really done those scientific studies, because almost every other study of how children develop physically, the children have been helped, prodded, sat up, walked, and Emmy Pickler's work dealt with children who were never put into positions they couldn't get themselves into or out of. So they were placed on their backs until they could turn themselves to their tummies. They were never held even upright until they could sit up independently, so that they had very, very strong core, well-being, and the way they move is just beautiful there. And so that's one of the things that really attracted me, because as Kathy said, and thank you all so much for having me, this is just so wonderful, that they move so beautifully, and as a dancer, that was very attractive to me to think about, how do people develop their relationship with their bodies and with gravity. So that's one of the areas. But anyway, I'll just move on over. And one of the things that's been very exciting for me about the Rye approach is that as I study all the science that's been coming out since, the decade of the brain in the 90s, is that almost every bit of it backs up things that, I learned from Magda Gerber, and, I have just no problem saying it's scientifically founded because we have all of this research. There are one or two areas that I've grown in a new way, you know, and I've developed some new thinking about, but for the most part, the Rye principles are so fantastic in how they tie development together, that it's all of a piece. This is sort of one of our very deepest things, is that a child's mind and body are not separate. You know, ours aren't either, but we think they are. But when you're dealing with a baby, you know, how you touch it, how you move it through space, you know, how you allow it to have movement autonomy totally informs their sense of self and their sense of well-being and who they are as people. So that's one of the deep appreciations. And now, you know, we're even finding out more and more that a person's later in life physical health is totally affected by things that happen to them as infants. You know, the epigenetic effects of you know, trauma or mistreatment in any way, shape, or form. And so, you know, that's a physical fact of psychological, you know, origins. So there is no mind-body split. That's just, you know, old thinking. So the educaring approach that Magda Gerber started thinking about with Dr. Pickler and brought over to this country and spent time thinking and learning about the American sort of family and how it goes. And finally, you know, in 1978, she founded Rye, thinking, you know, she really did now think that she could speak to the needs of American people. She'd been here, you know, 20 years already by then. But she worked with autistic children. She worked with children with cerebral palsy. She did a lot of work prior to thinking, okay, now I think I can support the mothers and the fathers of these American children. And so, you know, for me, I'd be reading Tronick and whatnot, and Tronick said, you know, children have two main goals: the social connectedness and the exploration of the world of objects. But I've learned, in fact, that there's also this goal of self-awareness, you know, and this opportunity to learn about how they feel inside, the interoceptive part of life. And I think Rye really speaks to that as well as all the others. So what we want to do is help them with their self-awareness, be fully present to them enough of the time to help them get that social connectedness, and then give them lots and lots of free exploration. So there are a lot of different ways to lists of, you know, what are the Rye principles, but this is my latest list that helps me kind of put it all together. And so, you know, the basic foundation is respect for the infant and oh, you know what I have for you, just so you'll know, is I have copies of my little PowerPoint, so anything that's on the slides, anybody that wants one now, you can pass them around. So I'm gonna just go through all these one by one. So respect is just, you know, seeing the child as a full person, a whole being that has, you know, a separate worthy person with a wide range of emotions, of senses, and competencies. And you know, you can't treat a baby exactly the way you treat an adult, but you can give the same amount of consideration to the infant. You know, treating them that way as opposed to this. So, and as we move forward in talking about, if respect is the foundation, then we often talk about the basic trust that Erickson talks about, Wright kind of turns it upside down and says, well, we're going to have some basic trust in the infant as a self-initiator, as an explorer, as a person who's actively engaged in creating themselves and in creating relationships and stuff. So, yeah, of course, we're going to try to give them the security to learn to trust others, but you got to give to get. So we're going to give them trust too, and we're going to, as we talk to them, we're going to talk to them about things that concern them. We're going to not pick them up without giving them fair warning. I'm going to come pick you up now. We don't swoop in from behind and scoop them up. You know, we move around to the front, get eye contact, and say, I'm going to pick you up now. And you wait until you see a little postural something to tell you, I'm ready to be picked up now. Here comes the table. Shall we pause while they set up a table? So, well, I'll just keep talking. So, you know, all the research that, you know, that I'm hearing about, you know, children's sensitivity to tone of voice. Okay, so we talk to babies. I had a mom say to me yesterday in class, well, you know, I'm out at the store and I'm talking to my baby and people are looking at me like I'm crazy. You know, why are you having a conversation with this baby? But I think everybody in this room fully appreciates why you do that. Because if you don't, how are they going to learn? You know, and by your tone of voice, you're communicating so much. And the fact that you are communicating. But, you know, as we know, the listening is even more important than the talking. You know, and to me, listening is watching for nonverbal cues with an infant. You know, I'm going to pick you up now. And the baby doesn't say, oh, okay, fine, let's go. You know, so what you see is just a little something. So, okay, so we'll move to my next favorite thing, the unique approach to freedom of movement. Oh, those are so dark. I don't know why it doesn't look like that on my screen. Oh, okay. So this also is related to basic trust, that we believe that biologically the baby comes in with a really good sort of natural plan of unfolding. And there's a really nice book that's based on Pickler's research that's available through RIE called Unfolding, Baby's Natural Movement Development. And it shows step by step, if you break down natural movement development, you see children going through the same stages in pretty much the same order. And surprisingly, they crawl before they sit up when they're not assisted to sit. And we think assisting children to sit actually immobilizes them. And it causes, you know, certain weakness in the